Welcome to the Block Party NBA podcast. We are back and better than ever. I'm joined by the one and only King Wells. How you doing, bro?
Always good. What's good, man?
We're coming into the end of the NBA season. We've got a lot to talk about. We got some really interesting games today. We got a lot of stuff we haven't talked about in a few weeks here. So I'm excited to get going and just kind of talk about what we've seen in the NBA last few weeks, what we can
Sounds
kind of
good.
expect going forward. And it should be just a fun kind of playoff picture type episode. So I think we can get right into this. I have the NBA play-in tournament playoff bracket pulled up. We have a lot of big games tonight, a lot of important games tonight. But I kind of just wanted to start with playoff seeding as of now, and then maybe go into kind of the play-in seeding, and kind of we can get into some predictions, and then we'll kind of move into the maybe like NBA awards, who you think kind of deserves each award, what you think is going to kind of happen with that. Then we can just kind of go into miscellaneous talking points, anything we want to discuss, anything we think is interesting, anything that we've noticed over the last few weeks. So if you're ready to go, like I'm down to get right into it if you are.
Let's do it.
So let's start with the playoff seeding. So as of now, we do have kind of a play-in picture, they call it, or playoff seeding picture. And then on the outside of this bracket, we have the play-in tournament. So I don't know if you can pull that up or have that pulled up, but I'm just going to kind of go through this.
Yeah,
So I want to start with the two teams on top of the West and the East. So that's the first thing we'll mention. We have, as of now, Phoenix leading the West and Miami leading the East. So Phoenix sitting at 62-14, having a great season. Chris Paul returning into the lineup a few games ago. So they're coming back into kind of full strength here. Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton playing really good basketball as of late. And Phoenix, sitting at that 62 win mark, looking strong, looking ready to make another deep playoff push. What are your thoughts on the Phoenix Suns? How far do you think they can go? Do you think this could be potential for them to get into conference finals once again here, and maybe make a push for the finals? Like, is this team the real deal? And it's looking like it. I mean, obviously, when we just look at season standings and how they've done in the season and carried over that momentum from last year. But I'm just curious on your thoughts on Phoenix, since they are officially the best ranked team in the NBA.
Yeah, man. I think I'm surprised. I didn't think that they'd be able to be on top of the West for the entire year. I mean, and it's even more surprising when you look at who's number two. Like, I don't think anybody called that either. So that's pretty cool that the Grizzlies are doing so well as well. But to answer your question about how I think they're going to do and if I think they're for real, listen, I still don't. I wouldn't bet on them to win the whole thing. I'm not saying it's impossible, but they wouldn't be my pick. The one thing I will say, actually, there's two things I want to say with the Suns. The first thing is that, in my opinion, Chris Paul deserves some MVP consideration. I know that he's not going to get it, and I'm not saying he's in the number one, but I think he should be considered, considering how good the Suns are doing. I think Monty Williams will probably win Coach of the Year, and he should. But Chris Paul definitely needs some consideration there. I'm not taking anything away from Devin Booker or DeAndre Ayton, or Mikal Bridges for that matter. But Chris Paul really is the one that, in my opinion, that takes this team to another level. And to be doing it at his age is just incredible. So that would be number one. My number two thing that I want to say about them is, listen, the thing in the West that everybody, if they're not saying it, that they're thinking it, is if the Lakers end up healthy at the end of at the start of the play-in tournament,
Right.
and they make it in to the eighth spot, that's who the Suns will be playing.
Right.
And listen, I think the Suns are great. I think they're a good team. Again, I don't think they're going to go all the way, but I would not want to be the Suns having to look down the end of the barrel with the Lakers on the other side. You know what I mean? With a healthy Anthony Davis. I mean, I know the Lakers have looked pretty garbage for a lot of the year, but they haven't been at full strength. So,
Yep.
and we know what LeBron does in the playoffs, man. So, I think it's almost a recipe for upset, but in my mind, it wouldn't be that much of an upset. But I can see that happening. The Lakers making the eighth spot and beating the Suns in the first round.
Okay,
Uh,
interesting. So that's an obviously would be a first round matchup that we saw last year. Obviously, we didn't have a healthy Anthony Davis last year, and the Lakers were up in that series. Um, right now, we actually have San Antonio in that play-in spot, I believe.
yeah.
So it's gonna be
Well, I think they're tied with the Lakers.
right. So I believe their records tie, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just games played or how they actually determine this, but they're the ones in the play-in tournament as of now. So I
Or
don't.
maybe the Spurs beat the Lakers during the season.
Sure, that's probably. I would assume that's probably like how they determine it. But
Usually,
I know. So the Lakers do play tonight. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are both expected to make a return into the lineup. So this is the first time we're going to see Anthony Davis in a few weeks. LeBron is dealing with an ankle injury. He's rested the last two games. The Lakers
and
are
they're playing the Pelicans, right? So a loss with the
yeah,
Pelicans that helps them even more.
right. So this is a very big game tonight for the Lakers. Very very big game, and pretty much every game going forward for the Lakers is a must win. And especially same thing kind of with the Spurs and these other teams, but this next few games here going down the stretch is going to really determine the play-in tournament. And obviously, as a Lakers fan myself, I'm hoping the Lakers can push through this and just get in place. If they can get into the play-in tournament, I'm pretty happy with that, because it's like I said, like I think the playoff experience, championship experience will help them. And at that point, we've talked about this before, but it's almost like you're playing with nothing to lose because the expectations for you are so down, just with such a disappointing year.
Oh, you mean for the Lakers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
I don't know about that.
well, I think a lot of people, if you if looking through media, fans, just online statements, like everything throughout the year has counted this team out, and rightfully so. They've been garbage, but one obviously exception is LeBron James. So
If the Lakers are in the playoffs in any way, I don't think anybody's counting them out, even if they say they are. You can't.
yeah, that's what I've been kind of reiterating this whole time is like if they get in, like, are you really going to want to play them in first round, second round? I probably wouldn't. Or would you rather play Utah, right? Like, come on. Or Denver, right? Like, so it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Huge games coming up, must-watch games, must-watch TV. This is going to be really exciting, and yeah, I mean, I guess we'll kind of see how this unfolds. A team that is really slid down. So, like you mentioned Memphis, and obviously Memphis has had an incredible year. I think something that's really important when we're talking about Memphis is their record without Ja Morant this season. Last time I checked, now this could have changed recently with a few games, but I believe it was 18-2 without Ja Morant in the lineup. So that does speak volumes about this team performing without him. Ja's dealing with another injury, and something I wanted to bring up because I feel like it almost gets kind of looked over. But Ja Morant, for as great of a player as he is and as great of a year he's had, he leans into that kind of injury-prone territory for me, and I don't think a lot of people like to really touch on this, but he's dealt with a few of these kind of injuries throughout the season. I mean, he had a really scary one kind of a quarter way through with his knee. He's had a few tweaks on his ankle, and now again dealing with another knee injury. Is this something to be concerned about with just the style in which Ja plays? Like, we've seen it obviously before with guys like Derrick Rose and young players who kind of just don't know how to turn down the 0 to 100. Does this scare you at all with Ja and like dealing with these injuries and seeming now like it's a little bit more of a consistent thing? Like, I think he's so exciting, and people just have this affection for Ja as a player, and he's so fun to watch, right? That we kind of overlook maybe some of these injuries, but he's been out a couple weeks, and we're coming into playoff territory here, and it's kind of seeming like he does have a bit of a hard time staying healthy with just kind of his style and the way he plays. Do you think that's something that is concerning if you're Memphis right now?
Yeah, I think it's concerning for sure. But I mean, the other thing is that he's still so young that, like, I think it's his third year in the league right now. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's concerning for sure. But as long as he's back in time for playoffs and playing games when it matters, that's all you can really hope for right now. I don't think he's played long enough where I want to consider him injury prone per se. But it's a good point. I mean, I'm looking at his 3 years in the league. Last year he played 63 games, a shortened season though, and the year before he played 67. So I mean, it's borderline getting concerning, but it's not something I would be completely worried about right now.
Um, I'm looking. We'll keep it in the West for now. We obviously just talked about Memphis, Phoenix. I want to get into our third and fourth seeds. So Dallas sitting at third, which to me, like that blows my mind, man. Like I think, and you know what's funny? So like we go back a few months ago when we talked about Luka. Like let's go back pre All Star.
Mm-hmm.
Luka's struggling. He's not hitting his shot. He's coming off
struggling.
I mean, he's struggling in compared to what he did the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Dealing with a lot of these like injuries that kind of kept coming up and up and up. And it seemed like post All-Star, which we both kind of agreed that we thought he'd get through it. And, kind of like he usually does, get into mid-season form. He's looked obviously really, really good, and Dallas has looked really good. And that Dinwiddie trade has looked really, really, really good for them. Mm-hmm. Porzingis has been playing pretty well in Washington, and I think Dinwiddie has come out of his shell, and Washington just clearly wasn't a good fit.
Yeah, but it's like a win-win.
Yeah, so it's looking like a bit of a win-win situation. Dallas now sitting at third. Will be playing Denver in the first round if we were to start the playoffs today. What do you think about that matchup? It's obviously we probably have to dive into a little bit more of Denver here. Like, is Jamal Murray healthy? Is he ready to come back? From last time I heard, Michael Porter Jr. was close, but had a bit of a setback,
complication, which is
scary. So, I would personally put my money on Dallas to win that series, just with playoff Luka and Dinwiddie coming into his stride, and just them looking like a really solid team the last few weeks. Would you agree with me that Dallas probably is the favorite in that series as of now?
Man, to me, the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors are the two teams I would not want to face out west, and the Lakers too, to an extent, to a lesser extent right now. But I love Dallas, man. I love them, and I think I've been. This is something I've thought for the last couple of years. Like, I think if Luka Doncic didn't have to face Kawhi Leonard in his last two times in the playoffs, I think the story might have been a little different. I'm not saying they would have won, but I think it would have been different.
Right.
So, with those two teams, Dallas and Denver, I think I would go with Dallas. Although I have to say I've been really impressed with Jokic.
Oh man,
how could you not be? Yeah, just unreal. It'd be so fun to see him see the Nuggets at full strength.
Yeah, I agree.
But
it's a shame.
But
yeah,
the way it stands right now, I would go with Dallas on that one. I would not want to play the Dallas Mavericks or Luka Doncic specifically.
Okay, so let's backtrack to the Clippers here, because we're talking about the play-in. We're talking about what happened kind of last couple of years with Luka and Kawhi, and obviously we saw how that unfolded. If we look at the play-in on the other side, so not the New Orleans Pelicans, San Antonio Spurs, Lakers kind of play-in seeding here, but if we go down to the other end of things here, we got Minnesota and the Clippers in that other play-in game to face Memphis in the first round, right? Would it be Memphis? Yeah, it would be Memphis. Yeah, Memphis. So my question to you is this. Paul George returned to the lineup last game, I believe. He looked unreal. I think he dropped 34 points, something like that. Looks like he didn't miss a stride. We've seen Kawhi pre-game warming up, getting his shot up, running drills. Do you think if the Clippers can what's the timeline with Kawhi, and how does the play-in picture / playoffs play into his return? Do you think this is something they prep for, or do you think they're really kind of just saying, if we make the playoffs, great, we're not going to rush him back? Or do you think this has kind of all been set up from the get-go here to be like, if we can get into that play-in tournament, or if we can get into the first round through the play-in tournament, Kawhi Leonard will probably make a return to the lineup? Like, do you think the indication might be Paul George returning this season and actually coming out to play? Like, is that an indication on Kawhi's status at all in any way? Do you look into that?
I don't think so, man. Honestly, I think that the number one reason that Kawhi would come back would be that he's ready to come back and to be a difference maker. You know what I mean? I don't think it has to do with how strong they look going into the playoffs or what the field looks like or anything like that. I think number one is you want to make sure he's back full strength, 100%. So with that in mind, I would be pretty surprised to see Kawhi back in the lineup this year, including the playoffs. Not that I don't want to see that. I think that'd be a lot of fun, and that would really shake up the league, especially out west. But no, it's not something I'm expecting. I think Paul George was just ready to come back, so he came back. But as far as Kawhi, I'm not expecting him back.
Sure. So you don't think there's any chance we see Kawhi in the playoffs this season?
Hey, I'm not going to say no chance, but you know, I would say it's a
More
strong possibility, or
yep.
it's a not a strong possibility.
So less likely than
A lot less likely. It's a lot more likely that we see him next year starting fresh than join this year. But you know, I've seen crazier stuff happen. It's just nothing about Kawhi's the way they've handled injuries with him ever. It makes me feel like they would take any type of chance. And so, you know, that doesn't mean that he can't get to that point before the playoffs started. You know, I'm not saying that. It's just I would put my money on waiting till next year.
Looking at this other play-in game, so it's interesting. I'm just kind of looking at the arrows and how they determine this, but we got Clippers and Timberwolves playing that first game. Loser would then go to play the winner of the play-in between, you know, Pelicans and Lakers or Pelicans and Spurs. Who would you put your money on between the Timberwolves and the Clippers as of now winning that game? To I guess seed into the Memphis slot. Would you say Timberwolves probably have the edge?
You know what? I honestly feel a little more confident with the Clippers, but I think it's because we just played the Raptors just played the Timberwolves, and not that they were bad, but I still just get the feeling that they're just a little young and just not quite ready to for those big games, you know. And Karl Anthony Towns, begging him to prove me wrong. But yeah, I think the Clippers with their experience and their coaching. You know, I've been really hard on Ty Lue for the last couple of years, but he's a good coach. He's come a long way. And,
he has come a long way. I really like Ty Lue.
Yeah, so I think between those teams, honestly, I'd probably go with the Clippers.
Interesting. I think I'd put my money on the Timberwolves, but
assuming Paul George is playing, obviously.
Right? Yeah, for sure. Which I would assume he would in the play-in, just given what we've seen and ramping up. Essentially the loser of that game will then go to play Pelicans or Spurs or Lakers, whoever's sitting there, and then the winner of that game would go to play Phoenix. So Timberwolves and Clippers versus Memphis, who do you think Memphis would rather play? I would assume they on paper you'd probably say Clippers, just because of not a non-healthy Kawhi. Obviously, if Kawhi's there, it's definitely you'd rather play the Timberwolves, but. Who matches up better?
It's a good question. I mean, as far as matchups, I mean, nobody likes to match up with Karl Towns, but Steven Adams is a pretty good, body to stick there. So I don't think he'd have a great time playing up. I don't think Cat would have a great time playing against Steven Adams. Not that he's going to get locked down, but that's a good answer. It's not nothing. But the Grizzlies just have a scrappy team, man, all across the board. They're all on a string on defense. So
yeah,
I don't know who they'd rather play. I honestly, between those teams, I don't think it really would matter.
Do you think that Ja will be ready for the playoffs, or do you think they're kind of undermining this injury a bit?
I think he'll be ready for the playoffs.
Okay. So I want to get into the other series that we didn't touch on in the West, which is Golden State Utah. How do you feel about that series? Golden State's been lackluster. Obviously, no Steph Curry for the last couple of weeks here. Hoping Steph can come back healthy. Steph's the kind of player, the minute you insert him into the lineup, as we've seen this in other years, like last year, I believe, when he was dealing with injury.
It's some magic happening.
It's like you insert Steph, and then the whole team changes, right?
Yeah.
So could you see that Steph coming back into the lineup, and then we get kind of a rejuvenated Golden State?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Even when you're saying it, you can feel it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get LeBron, you get Draymond Green.
Draymond.
Getting amped up as well. The crowd's going to be all into it. Klay Thompson playing a playoff game again. It's storybook stuff,
Yeah.
That'll energize them.
And
the Jazz are tough, though. I don't want to take anything away from them.
And that momentum, too, you could just see Golden State riding that all the way to the conference finals, right?
Oh yeah, like I said, man, out west for me, it's the Mavs or the Warriors, and I'm feeling pretty confident about that.
Okay, so that's the West. Let's get into the East here. We obviously said the two teams on the top. So we talked about Phoenix out in the West being the top team. We moved to Miami now, top seed in the East. And obviously, if you compare the record of Miami right now, sitting at 49-28, not even comparable to Phoenix's record of 62-14. So the East looks a little bit more balanced in terms of standings, seeding. Like looking at these teams, Miami 49-28, Philly 46-30. Chicago 45-32, Boston 47-30, who was on top of the East like a few nights ago, right? So things are shifting here. Obviously, Raptors sitting at that six seed, that prime spot to avoid play-in, 44-32, a couple really big wins the last few nights. How do you feel about? We'll get to the kind of the Miami and the play-in eventually, but let's start with the two middle seeds here. We'll start with our kind of meat and potatoes of Boston, Toronto, first round series. How do you feel about that
What a
first round?
series.
How do you feel about that
Man,
first round series?
what a war that would be.
Yeah, and how confident are you that the Toronto Raptors could pull off an upset in quotes against Boston, who at a week ago was sitting on top of the East at that one seed?
Yeah, I think pretty confident. I mean, I think it would be a tight series. That's got another Game 7 written all over it.
I agree with you.
But I feel confident about that. I think the Raptors can hang with the Celtics for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that the Celtics have had trouble with Scotty Barnes, especially on the boards. And I think that would come. Like the thing I'm excited about with the Raptors is that the style of basketball that they play, not that they're the only team that does this, but the style of basketball that they play, especially on defense, is going to go to another level in the playoffs because the fouls are called differently.
Right.
So I'm really excited about that. And the fact that their offense has been like pretty shitty, let's be honest, doesn't concern me as much because their defense is so good that they tend to create opportunities and everything off their defense. So
yeah, exactly. They play defense first, which is
absolutely
why you're not why it's not they're not a fun team to play against, and the whole league knows that.
And the other fun thing is they are healthy now. They're fully healthy now. I think Ken Birch is still out a bit, whatever, but they got Trent back, OG Anunoby's back.
Yeah, OG's the one.
Siakam's rocking up. Siakam. Let's talk about Pascal Siakam for a minute, man, because
what an unbelievable year,
always thought that Pascal. I thought that he was a type of player. Well, I wouldn't go as far to say he didn't deserve a max contract. I would probably have said like he's not the guy. He's not the guy you build around and stuff. And not that I'm saying that he is now, but he has shown me this year. He's showing me a side of him where, I would have always said with Pascal that his defense would always be way more valuable would always be more valuable than his offense because what he does on defense is just amazing. But this year, not only has his defense stayed where it is and pretty damn high, his offense is getting to the point now where he looks like the type of guy that can get his shot whenever he wants against whoever he wants and whatever defense that he wants. And that's something that I did not expect from Pascal. Yeah. He's shown flashes of it, but I thought he was going to be like the flash guy where, every now and then he can bring that out. But the last couple weeks, he really is, like, I know Matt Devlin is annoying and everything, but he really does play like an all-NBA player right now. He's playing like it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Got to give him that respect.
He has, I think, to when he just kind of came back, because obviously he missed the first few weeks with the surgery, and how he's gone. So it's funny because I remember we had this conversation of who's the Raptors' best player this year so far, and it was after a sample size of Siakam after like a few weeks. And I was saying how, just from what I saw from OG, I was loving it. And then you obviously had Scotty being such an early, developed rookie. And then you had Siakam playing at a really high level. But since then, Siakam has taken a huge leap and really shown us that he is the guy on this team, right? So it's clear without question that he is the best player on this team right now, for me at least. Now, I want to talk about Fred VanVleet, because from what I've been seeing, I don't watch every single Raptors game. I'll try to catch highlights, but I watch most of them. Do you think that VanVleet's kind of, obviously you could say he's trended down a little bit over the last few weeks, but how confident are you that VanVleet can kind of come back into that early season stride, get to the level? Because I mean, if you look at the beginning of the season, VanVleet was our guy. Like, he was going crazy, like with he was kind of like our momentum guy. Now it seems like that's kind of been passed over to Siakam in a sense. Do you think Van Vliet's going to need to let Siakam kind of assert himself, continue to play like that, or do you think that Van Vliet will take a bigger role in the playoffs, kind of what he was doing like early on in the season?
Yeah, I think. Well, Freddie's hurt. Like his knee's been bugging him for the last month.
Which you can tell, right? You can tell
yeah,
something's
but that's why he's been trending down. You know what I mean? He doesn't have that explosiveness. He's still the thing with Fred that I love, and when you're saying about who's the best guy in the team and stuff, it has lately it's been Siakam.
For sure.
But overall, it's really hard for me not to put Fred VanVleet there because it's not just what it's like Kyle Lowry, man, and there's a big reason for that, but it's not just what he does on the court as far as stats and stuff. It's everything else that Fred VanVleet brings to the game as far as leadership, saying the right thing to somebody at the right time, getting on the refs at the right time, taking shots at the right time. Like Freddie will take these big shots, at the perfect time, and he makes them, and it's amazing. But just having the right, knowing the rhythm of the game and when to assert yourself, when not to, that's why I don't really get overly concerned about Freddie. Obviously, it would be nice to have him at 100%, clicking on all cylinders. But even at 75%, Fred VanVleet, he's such a steadying presence to the team that it doesn't really concern me. I think he can still do what he needs to do to be effective and what he needs to bring to the team. And as far as letting Pascal Siakam take over, I think that's been happening, and that's the way it is.
Right. Let's talk about the other mid 4 and 5 matchup in the playoffs. We got Philly and Chicago. How do you feel about that playoff series, and what would be your predictions on a Philly-Chicago playoff series?
Honestly, I'm a little lower on both these teams, I think, than most people are. I mean, I might be wrong about that, but even Chicago to me, I know they've been trending a little down lately.
Yeah, for sure. Sitting on top of the East at the 1 seed, now they're sitting at 5. So
yeah, and I mean, to me, it's not nothing against Chicago, but that's not incredibly surprising to me. Like I thought they were overachieving, and I do think they're a good team. Don't get me wrong, I think they're a great team, but I don't see them as being like they're not, for me, they're not the team to beat in the East. I think Philly's probably a little closer to that, but even Philly, I'm having trouble really believing in with the losses I've seen lately. And I don't love Doc Rivers as a coach. I've always had a bit of an issue with Embiid as a MVP candidate type player. And James Harden is just such a wild card, Not really sure where to rank it there.
It's hard to know. I think Embiid this year has been unbelievable, and I think it's like, to me, he's in the conversation of MVP. I don't know as
absolutely he is. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
I don't think, in my opinion, he'd be my vote, but it's hard not to consider him. I think he's like in the top 3 for sure.
He has to be.
Obviously, the team that no one talks about because it's just like, oh yeah, they're good. We know they're good. They're defending champs. Milwaukee Bucks sitting at 48-28, waiting on the winner of the Brooklyn Cavs series.
A big win against Brooklyn last night too.
Big win, and Giannis going crazy. Obviously, if Brooklyn can hang with Cleveland in that play-in spot, a Brooklyn-Milwaukee first-round matchup is going to be so much fun, right? Because we all remember what happened last year with the Durant shot. Could we see a potential upset if Brooklyn slides into that 7th seed, plays Milwaukee in the first round?
Yeah.
And how confident are you that what would you say is that who would be your favorite out of those two to win that series?
That's tough. If you asked me this at the start of the season, I probably would have said Brooklyn. Right. And I'm not saying it's changed because James Harden's gone. It's not that. It's part of it, but it's not that. It's more that I'm believing more in Milwaukee. After what I've seen lately, rather than Brooklyn. I mean, Milwaukee's a tough out, man. I would not want to play them. I think in the East, my picks would probably, anybody picking Milwaukee, that's not a bad pick at all, right? Like you can't fight that. Besides Milwaukee, I'd probably say Brooklyn just because of the
The
Kevin Durant
firepower,
factor, right?
right?
I
And
mean,
Kyrie looking unbelievable
yeah, of course, of
last
course.
few months too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I agree with you. And but I think Milwaukee
what a
just,
first round series that would be.
yeah,
Jesus
it'd
Christ.
be crazy, right? So yeah, that would be obviously exciting. And then so then if Cleveland were to lose that game, we'd have Brooklyn slide into the seventh seed, or Brooklyn if they lose, but they would then play the winner of Charlotte Atlanta. So who do you have taking that series? Which would be a really fun playing
You
game,
know
right?
what? Out of anybody there, if I'm Cavs or Nets, I would not want to play Charlotte.
Interesting.
I would not want to play Charlotte right now.
Just from what you've seen recently, LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges.
Yeah, and you could probably say a lot of the same type of things about Atlanta because they're young and
Had a great
young as
playoff
well.
run last year too.
But
And
there
Trae
just seems
Young.
to be a little bit more magic in Charlotte lately, and I think once they kind of break that seal and get through to the playoffs, I think the fans will go pretty crazy, and that'll take them even further.
Um, yeah, that's an interesting one for me. I don't know who I would put my money on. For me, I think I'd lean more Atlanta just because from what I've seen Trae Young all year, like Trae Young is a superstar. There's no doubt about it.
Hmm.
The kid's incredible. And last year in the playoffs, what we saw, the confidence, like going into Madison Square Garden, telling everyone to shh, and just like taking them out slowly. Like, dude, this kid does not fear anyone or anything. And I mean, John Collins is dealing with a few injuries right now. Clint Capella has been a bit of a shell of himself. They haven't been the same looking team like they were last year, but playoffs, man, things tend to change. Things can happen. You never really know. Trae Young's looked awesome all year, so I think obviously they can ride hopefully off Trae's momentum, but that'd be a really fun playing game. And I don't really know who I'd pick between those two. Like they both are sitting at 40 and 37. They're both kind of being led by a superstar guard. Different styles of play, like same style of play, but one's obviously a tall, long kind of LaMelo, and then you got like a short kind of sharpshooter in Trae Young. Both really great playmakers. Both have other really, really nice assets. It's hard for me to pick a winner out of those two teams, but I think that'd be a really fun playing game to watch for sure. They would go to then play Miami. Do you think we could see Miami get upset in the first round? Is that out of the question, or do you think Miami is
Not by Charlotte
not by Charlotte?
or Atlanta. I don't think so.
I'm curious to see what happens with Miami. We've obviously been seeing a little bit of like breakdown. Like I don't know if you saw like a few weeks ago with Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler getting into it, and that whole kind of
Yeah, it doesn't
fiasco on the
concern me.
bench. I see more of that as like competitive flair, just like similar to what we saw with Davis and Dwight Howard and the Lakers, and like what you see this with teams happen all the time, like fights between teams and it's not out of hate for one another. It's out of Miami, just such a competitive team that wants to win. Spoelstra wants to win at a high level. Butler wants to win at a high. They all demand excellence. They all have a vision. They all want to execute it, and sometimes it just you kind of butt heads with your brothers when things aren't going according to plan. So it's like I don't look into that too much. I think Spoelstra's a really good coach. I think Jimmy Butler's a really a good leader, and I think there's a lot of people that kind of knock on Jimmy and say he's destructive to teams, but I think having Lowry there,
That's
especially
bullshit.
yeah, I never really understood that either. And I think having Lowry there, especially come playoffs, is going to be really, really good for them, obviously, because we still haven't even seen that unfold in the playoffs, like Lowry in the playoffs, especially on a team like this. So that could be kind of the X factor to get them through some of those hiccups, through some of that bullshit.
You know what? If Miami and Brooklyn end up playing in the first round, I think that'll be a really fun series too.
Yeah,
Because
true.
remember PJ Tucker played for Milwaukee last year,
Yeah,
and he didn't shut down Durant by any means, but he was the one that was testedly guarding him,
yeah,
and he'd probably get the same thing again.
yeah,
Maybe a little Jimmy thrown in there, but
yeah,
that'd be a fun series, man.
yeah.
That'd be a hard fought series. And, well, anybody that plays Miami, you're in for a war.
Right. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of playoff picture. We've like so many kind of undetermined factors here with the next few games.
Who do you like in the East?
If I had to put my team, like I would say Milwaukee, Brooklyn. I think there's a lot of chance for upset with a team like Toronto. I think I wouldn't want to play a team like Toronto, to be quite honest with you, because of just how defensively good. I think we're also about to see something called playoff Scotty, which I don't think people are ready for, and I think
That'd be nice.
I think he's the kind of player that will take that leap in the playoffs. I mean, I just want to get this off my chest, but last few weeks of Scotty Barnes has been unbelievable, and I think where he's sitting in the Rookie of the Year standings, I know you can't really look into it too much; it doesn't really matter, but it's a little bit disrespectful to me. He's sitting
Isn't he
at
second?
He's third. Mobley's still
Oh,
sitting at 1. Cade's played unbelievable. I can see Cade sitting at 2.
okay.
But like, dude, I just haven't seen the same Mobley that I saw at the beginning of the year, and it feels like we're still riding this Mobley hype train that was very early established by Mobley. Well, rightfully so. He had a great start, but this is not the same player that I saw at the beginning of the year. Now he's dealing with an injury. Cade and Scotty, to me, from what I've seen out of all the rookies, obviously Giddey is out for the season with that hip injury. Franz slowed down a bit. But man, those two to me, Cade and Scotty, like every single night, like Scotty's had the occasional off game, last couple of weeks. But if you just look at their game log, these last couple, like even just go a couple months, like these guys have been playing at such a high level. And I think if you look at Scotty as a whole, like Cade started a little bit slower. Scotty's been very consistent all year to me, and to me, that's my choice for Rookie of the Year, just based on how he's been doing it all year. He's been asked to be kind of starting for this team like since day one. He's been playing on both ends of the floor. He's improved already just throughout the year tremendously. Like look at his 3-point shooting, even just like from the first few weeks into the season into now, like he's confidently shooting the ball. He's got the highest percentage from mid range out of all the rookies. He plays this at another level of energy. We're starting this guy at point guard on some nights that Fred VanVleet's out, and this guy will then go guard 1 to 5. Like, I don't know. To me, it's a little bit disrespectful having him at third. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, you know what? I at the start of the year, or as we're getting close to the All-Star break, I was trying to be humble and saying that Evan Mobley probably deserves it more because of how good the Cavs were doing. But
Yeah.
that argument's out of the is out now.
Yeah, like come on, there's 7 seed in the play-in tournament, and Mobley's been trending down, and Scotty's been trending up. Like, why do we still have Evan Mobley ranked at number 1? Like, what the hell is going on? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
like to
And
put
when
it.
you throw in when you throw in the way that like you kind of touched on it there, but the way Scotty can not only defend 1 through 5, but he played 1 through 5, and he has done it. He has started at center for us. He started at point guard for us.
It's ridiculous.
He doesn't matter where he is. He's always effective. I think he should be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't get it, I understand it too. We've got some great rookies this year.
Right.
And I don't think that would make a huge. I think he does. Actually, I think Scotty really does want to win it.
I think he does too.
I think he'd be disappointed. But overall, big picture, I'm over the moon, man. I think if we were redrafting and we had the number 1 pick, it'd be tough not to take Scotty Barnes. Man.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean that. So
yeah, look, Cade last few weeks has looked unbelievable. I've been high on this kid since I just kind of saw him and his play style. When I watched the Brooklyn Nets game versus Detroit the other day, and the poise that this kid plays with, like he scored, I think it was like 3 or 4 buckets on Kevin Durant in the paint, and he makes the game look so effortless, like similar to Steffortless, it just comes so natural and so easy to him. I could see him just next year taking a huge stride forward. But same thing with Scotty, man. Like Scotty to me, just because of his frame, because of his length, because of his ability to play defense and guard, just being so versatile, Scotty has the biggest ceiling. And I actually truly do believe that he has a higher ceiling than Mobley because I think he's more mobile. No pun intended. But I think like the games come a little bit more natural to him, and I see him learning at such a, like, it almost seems like the natural pace that a player kind of learns and evolves their game. Scotty almost does it twofold. Like he's ×2 learning. Like I don't know, just especially with the jump shot for me, man. Like seeing this guy shoot threes and like confidently shoot them, and then being able to hit the mid range at such a high clip so young. Like players tend to develop that like later in their career kind of thing, and he just looks like he's ready. And next year, man, that's gonna be a scary animal. Even in the playoffs, I think we might see something special from him. That's just my opinion. Like I could see an even bigger leap that he takes in the playoffs.
He seems like the type to take his game to another level.
Yeah, he just does because he's an energy guy. He brings the energy. He he feels like that the heartbeat of the team at times. Like, and even if his shot's not falling and he'll have a game where he drops 8 points or something, he'll still be rebounding the ball at a high clip. He'll still be passing the ball very, very well. His defense is always going to be there, and he's always just making smart plays, good hustle plays. He's doing the dirty work. Like, this guy does everything you want and has every tool imaginable for an NBA prospect in this day and age. So yeah, I agree with you. I think if we're redrafting, he's in that number one pick conversation for sure, without a doubt. And I think over the next few years, it might even be undeniable that he is the number one pick.
Well, the thing with Scotty that excites me the most is, and I hate to do it, but to compare him to Giannis again is that like Giannis came in the league at 6'9", but he's 7 foot now, right. And like if Scotty just and some people are already saying that Scotty's taller than 6'8".
Yeah,
and you see him on TV,
he looks 6'10". He looks 6'10".
Like, not just taller, but mass bigger. Big shoulders than everybody, and he's already looking so much stronger than everybody on the floor. And he's 20 years old.
Yep,
he's 20 years old.
Yeah. Well, did you see?
Just imagine, give him a couple years, a couple.
When I watched the Lakers Raptors game, and when you could see LeBron getting visibly frustrated just having to play against him.
Yeah,
And then after that game, it was cool to see LeBron talk about him, and he basically was like, "Look, I saw Scotty Barnes in high school playing 1-5." Playing point guard in guard.
He said he saw him in like 7th grade.
Or 7th grade or something ridiculous.
I was like, relax, LeBron James. Jesus Christ. Like, I appreciate it, but come on.
But I mean, he wouldn't say, like, you can see that he's
from
got
a good place.
Yeah,
it's know what he means.
He's got high praise for him because it's like and the frustration to me, like, it's very like rare you see LeBron get frustrated playing against a player when he's you know what I mean? But the fact that Scotty can get right in on his grill and get into him like that and annoy a guy like LeBron, who's pretty unfazed by a lot of the league, right? Like a lot of veterans even, seems to be unfazed. But the fact that Scotty was like getting into him and kind of bugging him, like, it speaks volumes, man. Like, that in his rookie season to be able to do that and like give LeBron James a hard time.
Well, every star that he's played so far has said the same thing. You know, like I remember at the start of the year when we played the Nets, and there's one play where Kevin Durant drove into the paint and Scotty just took it from him. Like, not steal, not a tap away steal, like 2 hands, ripped it from him on a drive and then took it on the other end and dunked it. I mean, it's just, it's like Kevin Durant said at that point, he's like, he does things that not just a rookie wouldn't do, like a young player shouldn't do.
Right.
You know, and for him to be at the level already, it's just, man, it's making that not only is the last year in Tampa worth it, but it's like it has changed it's completely changed the outlook of the Raptors. You know, I mean, we were on schedule to be a good team and probably keep being a good team and maybe look for a couple pieces to become a great team. But now the foundation pieces that we have are coming together that we will likely have, even if we don't do anything, a great team.
Yeah.
And of players that have grown together.
And it's Scotty's the kind of guy that if we were to, like, it feels like we have a superstar in Scotty that is blossoming. Blossoming. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not just the Raptors. I think at the start of the year, I think the Raptors fan base kind of felt that way. But now it feels unanimously throughout the league that everyone's seeing it, and you can really see, like, even just one of my favorite things to do, and we've talked about this before, is we both have League Pass or whatever, and I'll go onto the away feeds because I like to hear what they say about, like, Scotty and what they're saying about Pascal, and you just see how these guys are talking about Scotty and what they're seeing. It's like everyone is fanboying over this guy. Like, I remember watching the Boston game from a few months ago and just hearing Scalabrine talk about him, like, with such high praise, just being like, this guy's going to be an all-star. Like, he is going to be an all-star. And you can just see it. Yeah. And he's had a few really good games against Boston, and he's had a few good games against pretty much every team.
Yeah, everybody,
But for me, like the other night when he dropped, like, it was like 35 and 17 or something, like he did some Giannis type line the other night, which was just ridiculous. I was just, like, in awe watching that game, and undeniably I was like, dude, I don't even care about if we lose Van Vliet in a couple of years. Like, this is our guy. Like, this is the guy I am, like, so confident in going forward. Like, I love we have that. We have Pascal, OG. We have great pieces, but like this is our guy. Like you can see it. You know what I mean? So.
But the beautiful part of it is that he fits in so well because the guys we are paying right now are good vets and they're getting their time and because because Scotty's on a rookie contract, we can afford to have our starting lineup
exactly.
with these are great value contracts, but still big contracts to OG, to Gary Trent Jr., who, by the way, Gary Trent Jr. is somebody that if Scotty Barnes wasn't doing as well as he was, we'd be talking about Gary Trent Jr. right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Like who saw this guy posting 18 points and a couple rebounds, couple assists, couple steals, close to 40% from deep.
Yeah, he's looked unreal this year. He's had a great year. And
what a beautiful player he's turning into. And then you got a guy like Precious Achiuwa coming off the bench, who is in his second year, but it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
He's looking like a real nice player. Like this team has such a the floor has gone up and the ceiling accordingly has gone up as well.
Yeah.
And by the way, one thing I want to say too, as far as the playoffs go, is we're starting to see now the benefits of having a guy like Thaddeus Young on our team from that deadline deal.
Yeah,
but I think in the playoffs it's going to be even more apparent.
I agree.
He's a great fit, and we got his bird rights too, so we can sign him for, we can go over the cap and sign him next year, which is even nicer.
Yeah, I think I'm excited for the playoffs, man. I want the Raptors to hold that 6th seed and avoid the play-in. Like, why wouldn't you want that? That's
looking like it.
And it's looking very possible. So they just got to stay winning. Like, obviously, I think it's still possible that they fall out, but they'd have to lose like pretty much every game, and Brooklyn. Or I think
you mean of the playoffs?
The play-in, like I think
okay.
I think Cleveland would have to win their next 4 or 5, and Toronto would have to lose the next 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we have a pretty easy schedule ahead. I know we play Miami on Sunday. We play Philly next week. But I think that's about it. We might have one other tough game, but I think other than that, we're playing a lot of bottom feeders.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. We should end pretty strong.
Yeah, and then obviously the other thing is, are we going to play Boston? Because Boston could also move up.
Oh, man. What a series that would be. I kind of want to play them, though. I want to get a little bit of revenge, and I think that whatever happens, we've already exceeded my expectations so far, so whatever happens in that series, I'm happy.
Right.
But Boston would be a fun team to kind of gauge where you're at with.
Yeah, for sure, and see how we hang with them, and
yeah. I mean, get a little revenge, maybe.
Jaylen Brown's dealing with
out of the bubble.
Yeah, and Jaylen Brown's dealing with a little bit of an injury here. Tatum's really stepped up his game last few weeks. Marcus Smart returning like a month or 2 ago. So they're a hard team, but I think they don't. I don't think they're very excited about playing Toronto in the first round either. So I think that's something we got to look forward to.
You know what, man? We were touching on Rookie of the Year. Do you want to go through the other awards?
Yeah, let's go. That's how I think how we'll kind of end it. Is we'll go through kind of who we think deserves what. I want to just start off by saying, man, because like obviously I'm the biggest LeBron fan on the planet, but he is leading the league in scoring right now. He's returning to the lineup tonight. He's averaging 30 points per game this year. I think he will. I think he's going to get the scoring title, which I think is just a phenomenal achievement in, obviously this late into his career. Like
it's going to have to be the oldest.
Yeah. And
I'll double check that.
No, it's the oldest. Yeah. And if you look at just like I was looking at the next player at this age, the next best scoring average was Kobe Bryant, I believe 22 points a game, and then the next year Kobe fell off. I think did 14 or something, and then after that it was like Shaq at this age averaging 10.7. So, dude, I don't know. As shit.
Well, I think Michael Jordan averaged 20 something at 40, right?
Yeah, true. I think I always leave out MJ on the Wizards or whatever, but I guess you can.
He had some good years, man. I know the Wizards overall didn't do great, but MJ played well.
Do you think from what you've seen of LeBron this year and how good everything is up. His defense has been up, his free throw shooting's been up, his 3 points per game have been up. He's obviously had to take on a huge role because it's if he doesn't drop 30 a game, the Lakers actually have no chance. So, but from what you've seen of LeBron this year, and what you've seen of the Lakers, it's obviously, like you said, they haven't been healthy. We haven't seen them with Davis. We haven't seen the full team. Obviously, the Westbrook thing hasn't really worked out at all, which a lot of people saw coming, and
big surprise there.
What do you think the move is here? Like, obviously, it's
Oh.
impossible to say. It's impossible to say without, seeing play-in seeding.
No, it's not impossible to say. Oh, you mean? Oh,
well,
okay.
because a lot could happen, right? Like, we just say we get into the playoffs here, Davis comes back healthy, and the Lakers just like steam through Phoenix or something. Then we're gonna be like, okay, well, fuck. Like, obviously, we're gonna have to see what happens. But I'm just saying, say they exit, they don't make the play-in, and then we're now left with LeBron winning the scoring title. And going
as far as roster movement,
yeah, roster. Like, is it gonna inevitably be like trading Anthony Davis?
Whoa, I think. Well, I don't think
health is wealth, especially right now.
Here's the thing, man. Like,
I said this for a while too.
Doesn't matter what happens. Their options are extremely limited right now because nobody wants Russ. The other thing, nobody wants THT. And like their best contracted trade right now that they might trade is like Kendrick Nunn, but he's not really exciting anybody either.
And there's Malik Monk, who's had an incredible year for them. It was a 1 year
deal. But
they'll
probably lose him.
That's the thing. That's the thing, which is a shame.
But that's why Malik Monk was smart to sign that year with the Lakers because he knew to give him that platform.
Yeah, exactly.
But the one thing that's coming their way in the offseason is they'll have an extra first round pick that they can trade. So they'll be able to trade 2, future first rounds. But I mean, is that the answer? I'm not sure. I think probably what happens, if I have to guess, I don't think they're going to resort to trading Davis because that just seems a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to me, especially if they keep Russ. It just seems like you're trading the wrong guy. You know what I mean? So I don't think they would do that.
Can't trade Russ, though. Right? No one's going to take Russ.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, it would feel weird to trade Anthony Davis and keep Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I think what they could, what probably they'll end up doing is next year in the offseason, they will sign their new, how they have, like, that batch of, like, minimum contract guys?
Yeah.
Vets.
The Arizas and the Ellingtons. And like,
I think that next year's bunch will probably look a lot better.
Yeah.
So I think that they have that going for them, regardless. And then you have those couple draft picks. I mean, Russell Westbrook's contract is not great. Okay, like that's an understatement. But this summer he's only on a 1-year deal.
Right.
So all of a sudden, it's like $47 million or something. But
that's clearing space for a team if they need to get rid of it.
Potentially, yeah. Like you could. It's not crazy to see a world where you send him to Cleveland and get something in Kevin Love back.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. Like, that's not nuts. I'm not saying that's a game changer for LA, but hey.
Kevin Love's looked good this year. Kevin Love's looked good this year.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible. And then, Cleveland could probably dump him off. Like, the one team, the team I always feel like is going to end up trading for Russell Westbrook is the New York Knicks. I don't know why. They just seems like it's
Julius Randle. He wants out, apparently. Who knows?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Maybe he comes back to La La Land. You never know.
What do you? Am I crazy? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's probably going to happen because why would this happen? But Timberwolves lose the play-in. They're out of the playoffs. It doesn't work. Is there any reality where we can see a Davis for Cat or Davis and a piece for Cat kind of swap? To me, I think
that piece would have to be those 2 picks.
Right.
And I don't know if that's enough.
Isn't it crazy to think that, like, to me, I think Cat's a better fit just simply because of his durability. Like, Cat is a much more durable player than Anthony Davis.
And shooting.
And shooting, yeah. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. But defensively, I think you could definitely say Davis is a better player. So it's not like Davis doesn't offer anything on the other end of the floor. It's not like Davis isn't a phenomenal player. It's just literally the thing with Davis is, it's health. It's literally health. It comes down to he can't stay on the floor. Where Cat can he can get banged up and come back up and be like, I'm good. You know what I mean? And Cat had this weird thing. It was like last year or 2 years ago where he missed a handful of games and everyone's saying, oh, he can't stay healthy. It's like, dude, Cat played 82 like 3 years in a row. Like the guy is durable as shit. I think he missed a few games this season. Like Cat's a durable big man. Like I put him in that Jokic category of like for the way they play, they're extremely durable. And to Embiid's credit, like Embiid's looked like that kind of a player this year. Obviously, Embiid's had an injury history. So, is there any like if you're the Timberwolves, this shit doesn't pan out, you get eliminated from play-in contention. You can get a guy like Davis and maybe picks. Like, is that something worth considering? And then you obviously have Anthony Edwards, who's a great young asset for your future. And then maybe you ship off D'Lo and try to get more young core and build around Davis and Edwards. Like all of a sudden,
but I mean,
man,
like the big problem with that is that you'd be dealing Cat, who's younger than Anthony Davis.
Right. And looks better. Looks like a better
So player. It's just like, well, even just taking that away from it, like just on paper.
Yeah.
It's really tough for a team to say, okay, we're going to give up on this young guy to build around this other young guy.
What's their age? Do you know their age? Do you know their age difference?
It's probably not that much, like maybe 3 or 4 years, but still.
Because I know Davis is still relatively, like, he's not old. Like, I think Davis is, how old is Davis now? 28? Okay, 29.
Yeah, I would guess. 29, okay.
And then what's Cat? Cat age?
24, 25?
26.
Okay.
So about 3 years. But, like, I mean, like, that's, like you said, like, it's the younger version, and it's clearly Cat's looked better this year, and he's stayed healthy. I'm curious on your thoughts on this, because to me, I think the idea of pairing Cat and LeBron is really, really scary. Like, I think that could be just, especially because of the shooting, right? You'd obviously need to get some defenders on that team.
And I think LeBron would be a great influence on him too, on how to become that number one guy that everybody wants him to be.
Right. So like, I mean, I think that's something that worth consider watching with the Timberwolves in the play-in, right?
The problem with like, listen, I always laugh at this because you always get these these news things like around the deadline. It was like Lakers have interest in Gary Trent Jr. It's like, yeah, no shit, but what do you?
What do you gonna get?
Like, you need two to tango here.
For sure.
Like they had one. What was it the other day? I saw it's like Lakers are interested in Quinn Snyder, as a head coach. It's like, okay, but he's got to leave Utah first.
Like Utah. Yeah, he's pretty content in Utah too. Like,
I mean,
had a pretty good record with that team the last few years. But I guess the real thing here is like, if they're willing to put Davis on the table, Davis isn't nothing. He's still like,
he's definitely
an all NBA player. He's an all NBA player, and he's phenomenal. But it's a question of health, and is it worth it for the Timberwolves to make that move? Like,
it's like this. It's like this. Let me put it NBA 2K way, okay? Davis is what at his best, like a 95. Like, let's say fully healthy, everything, like
94.
Best of the best, like a 95. Let's just say 95. Okay. What did you say? 94?
94, 93 is what I'd put him at. Yeah.
Okay, what do you want to put? What do you want to say?
I'd say 94.
94. Let's say 94. Right now, he's being looked at like an 85.
Which is, that's a little low for me. I'd probably say 88 is what I'd say. Like, but I know what you
mean. Fair enough. But what's Towns then?
Towns to me is like a 92. 90.
That's right. So you're not going to trade an 88 for a 92.
No, but would you trade a 95 for a 92 if you could get back a 95 in picks?
Yeah, but if he's at 95, Lakers aren't going to trade him.
Sure, but I think the idea is that Timberwolves say this isn't working. We've had Cat for this many years, and we believe Davis can get back to 95 and get picks and get, like, I think that's what they would essentially bank on, right? But it's like,
it's a tough sell.
Do they believe that Davis can get back to that level? And you know what the thing is, man?
And do they believe that Towns will never get to that level?
Yeah, because
that's the other thing.
That's the thing. But if you look at the trajectories of both players, it's like Cat's trajectory is pointing upward, and it's like sky's the limit. Like, he is one of the best shooting big men of all time.
You know what makes me think is that those two players together would be quite scary, actually.
Yeah, like little twin towers, DeMarcus Cousins, and kind of what could have been there in New Orleans. But yeah, no, that I think. I mean, I'm a huge Cat fan. Like, I love Cat's game. I think Cat is a phenomenal player, and I think he's an underrated passer, man. He makes some passes that I'm like, oh shit, okay. I don't think a lot of people know you have this in your game. And he makes really good high IQ plays. Like, defensively, he's not as good as Davis, but he's had a better year defensively this year than last year.
Yeah, he can hold his own on defense.
Yeah, it's not like he's useless, right? And he can bang with a lot of these bigs. And I mean, this guy, he was the first player this year to drop 60 points in a game. So like, the guy is an elite scorer, and when his three's hitting, it's hitting. He doesn't shoot the ball, with a lot of with a lot of like he's not jumping on his jump shot. It's a very set shot, and it's a very natural looking shot. I mean, he won the 3-point contest, right? Like, who would have saw that coming? But yeah, man, I think that's something that like for me, I love the idea of getting like a cat. I also love the idea of a Davis Siakam thing early in the year, obviously with the way Siakam's playing right now and stuff.
Like a trade, 1-for-1.
Yeah, like I didn't know if there'd be other pieces involved, but just to me, I saw kind of like the Siakam buy low opportunity where I was like, and Siakam is like just to me, Siakam's a very durable player as well. Like the way he plays is like he can bang and like he falls properly.
A lot of finesse to it.
A lot of finesse. I'm not worried about Siakam like in that like when I'm watching Davis where like it does just seem like, bro, and I've said this for like months and almost like maybe even years, but like Davis just every time he falls I'm scared, you know.
The only thing with Siakam and LeBron is that I don't think it's as good as a fit because Siakam seems to need the ball in his hands more
Than Davis.
as opposed to, you know, not that that's all that they would do, but like if LeBron's on the team, LeBron should be running the show
For sure.
and you should be able to.
But imagine that fast break. Like it would be better than Davis on the fast break. Like Siakam on the fast break's dead. You know what I mean? Like him and LeBron running the fast break would be scary, bro. It would be scary. Like I love that idea. Siakam and LeBron on the fast break, like the Lakers. And I mean, I don't know. Like, do you really see the Raptors taking that risk on Davis? Like, do you see that as a possibility?
What, to trade Siakam for Davis?
Yeah. Like, is that something you think the Raptors would consider exploring?
Yeah, I think we'd consider it. But as long as like we have to win that trade. Like, there's no. That's the problem with the trade with Anthony Davis right now. You know, in hypotheticals, is that there's no way the Lakers get rid of him and win the trade. You know, like on paper as it happens. Like it has to be. And I'm saying it in the sense that like if we were to trade for Anthony Davis, you know, on paper you would think that the Raptors should throw in some picks too. But you know, I don't think at this point. I don't think it's happening. Like there's.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's hard to get what they like should get.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It'd be tough to negotiate that one. Yeah. And you know, Masai is gonna try to fuck him over.
Oh yeah. But like, I could also see Masai being the kind of guy to be like, yo, like if we can get Anthony Davis.
Perhaps, but I'm not convinced that like Davis is that like. I don't know. You know, like I don't think like I think when Masai got Kawhi, I know it's easier to say it in hindsight. Fair enough, but like I don't know that, you know, Davis. I see him as like that missing piece, one piece that takes us to the championship. You know what I mean?
Scotty,
not so sure.
Scotty OG Davis. That's pretty scary, no? On defense, like
yeah,
it's already scary. It's already scary, but I'm just saying, like I don't know. The possibility is definitely like worth considering. Like I don't think it'd be off the table if you're Masai. Like I don't think he's like think he's like throwing it out the window. Like I think like you know
it's
probably worth considering, right? But like I mean Siakam on the Lakers to me too just seems like a freaking unbelievable fit. I know what you mean. Like he does need the ball in his hands, but just the fast break with Braun, like woo, I love that, man. I love that idea. Like I think that would be dangerous. And Siakam's taken like strides this year to look like he can be that guy. And like I think being the number 2 to LeBron, like it's like whew, be like a nice fit. But like you said, it's hard to get equal return on investment for Davis right now, right? Like that's the problem. So we got to see. Well, they're playing tonight, so I guess we'll see. Like it looks like Davis is coming back tonight. It's a big game versus the Pelicans. You said, right?
Is it in LA or is it in New Orleans?
I can tell you right now. I my gut says New Orleans, but.
Well, you can tell from the time, whatever time it's at.
No, it's in LA, 10:30. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll see. But I mean, CJ McCollum's been balling last few weeks. I think Ingram's back in the lineup now. They're fighting. Little disappointing with Zion, you know. Like I think we all wanted to see him. Like it looks like he posted that clip of him doing like that alley-oop off the backward through the legs, and like it seems like he's trying to like say like I'm more ready than they're giving me credit for. He's moved into one-on-one work, but like apparently he's been ruled out for the season.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
I mean, yeah, I guess we'll have to see how they look next year. I think CJ's been a really, really good fit for them, though. I think they're really liking that trade they made for CJ. Like I think
I agree.
It's been a pretty nice move for them. He's looked like he's like CJ. Man, I've always loved CJ. Like he's just he's very consistent. He's always just been able to do his thing and like he's the kind of guy that would be perfect for the Lakers, because he can just go get you a bucket anytime he wants. So
That's what I was gonna say, man. He's a bucket, bro.
He's a bucket. Like he's a bucket, bro. Like he effortlessly too. He's been like that for like years. And like to think this guy, like, has this guy ever been an All-Star?
I think so. No,
I don't think he has, which is a little crazy to me, but it is what it is. It doesn't take away how I feel about him in his game, and like watching CJ is like it's beautiful basketball. It's very similar to Cade. Like I just see like it's like how I would want to play basketball. Like it's just so effortless, like the way they score and shit. Like I don't know, it's dope. But yeah, man. I mean, we covered most of this. Like okay, like let me ask you this: who's your pick for MVP this year?
Oh man, you know what? Before last night, I was gonna say Jokic, but last night,
Giannis.
I think I'm saying Giannis.
Whew. Yeah, you know it's hard for me, bro. I think as much as I think I want to put LeBron in that conversation because he's fucking looked unbelievable. But how can you with where the Lakers are sitting, right? But it's to me he's like in there because I'm just like, dude, he's averaging 30 a game. If you watch LeBron, like he looks unstoppable most of these nights, but I think realistically speaking, you know, as sad as this, Steph fell out of that conversation, obviously. If I'm being honest with myself, like who the true MVP of the season is, it's hard for me not to say Jokic. But then you got to look at seeding too. Like Milwaukee sitting at 2, Philly sitting at 4, Denver sitting at 6. So it's like I personally kind of hope that Embiid gets it. Because I think Embiid's had a good enough year, and Philly's and also like something worth mentioning is Embiid carried that team without Ben Simmons and without James Harden, and was winning games, you know, for a lot of the year by himself. So now Jokic has done the same thing in a lot of aspects, right? And they both have pretty much an identical record. But I think it's probably going to be between Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis. My gut feeling says that people, because of the narrative and because Jokic won it last year, as much as that's not like anything to base your vote off of, which unfortunately that's just how this works with this kind of voting. My gut says if Philly can win these next few games and seed like higher than Denver, I think they're gonna lean towards Embiid.
If they finish strong, yeah, he definitely deserves consideration.
You know, so that's kind of what my gut says. But I think, yeah, Giannis and Jokic, it's very hard to make an argument on. But Jokic, man, like Jokic has been doing some stuff these last few weeks. Like some of these highlight plays, these passes, like cross court, one hand football passes behind the like head, like to
the way you said that, like CJ plays the way you want to play. Like for me, it's Jokic.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it's just so fun. You know what I mean? It's just so free.
It's so different too, and like it's so unique. Like it's phenomenal to watch, and he's having a better year than he had last year. He was the MVP last year. Like statistically, at least.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
So it's hard to argue, but like we've also seen where that doesn't necessarily matter, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really feel like actually a couple of things I wanted to mention. Like one is I think we've talked about this before, but you know, I think there should be MVP, but I think there should be like most outstanding offense. You know, like the way there's like a defensive player of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they should have a separation there, and like. I get why people do like honest name and stuff, but you know, like a lot of the times that would make so much sense and would save so much trouble. Like the years that Russell Westbrook won it, basically just because he got a triple double, and the years that you know James Harden won it, basically just because he was just unstoppable, 34, killing it on offense. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying they don't deserve the awards, but it'd be more appropriate to have an award like that.
Yeah, and LeBron would probably be in that conversation for best offensive player, right? Like you could put him in that conversation because.
Well, yeah, he's leading the league in scoring. For sure, he'd be in the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean. Who's your most improved this year? Would you say Ja?
That's you know what? That's probably the one that you can't really overlook. I mean, there's another one I'm thinking about.
Desmond Bane, bro, on his. I know it's like
Desmond Bane has got to be in there too.
He's in the conversation, but like the thing that he'll get outshadowed by Ja. That's the problem, right? Like he won't. I don't think you can really.
Well, and John Morant went from what, like 19 points to like 27.
Yeah,
like that's pretty damn big. Like getting from 10 to 20 points is big, but from like 20 to almost 30, like that's a huge step.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a huge step.
Yeah, I think Ja's my most improved. just based on like what you said. Like to get to 27 is like okay.
Oh man, as a starting point guard, like
Yeah.
oh boy. Oh boy.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Defensive Player of the Year.
Giannis.
It's tough not to say Giannis. Yeah, I mean, I always look at the usual suspects, but it's really
Gobert's trended down last few
Bears, the
weeks.
Draymond Greens, but
Draymond hasn't played enough for me to even be in that
that's it.
consideration at
So
all.
I think I'd probably go with Giannis.
Yeah, I think Giannis too. I'm trying to think if we're missing anyone. Miles Turner was in there, but he always ends up, getting hurt.
Same thing. He's not playing enough.
Playing enough, yeah. What do you think? Like we haven't touched on some teams, obviously, because we've only really talked about playoff scope. And I'm curious what you think of some of these teams that aren't, seeding, aren't like. Is there anyone you're kind of excited for next year? Like like teams that we won't mention, like OKC, the Pistons.
I'm excited to see what Portland does with Damian Lillard.
Yeah, that's there you go. That's something we haven't really talked about. They traded CJ. Dame could come back right now, but I think they're just obviously why would they?
They're doing a nice tank job right now.
Anthony Simmons, whatever. I think he was ready to come back, but they're like, well, we're obviously trying to tank for that pick.
Yeah, he's gonna get paid this year, or if he hasn't been paid yet.
Yeah, he looked really good at the for them. So there's obviously a few teams that it's like that I think will be interesting to see next year. Man, like I one thing I want to reiterate is, Sacramento, how's that trade going? How's that trade for your playoff push there, Sacramento? Getting Sabonis, like, bro, I called this from fucking day one. What a joke of a move that was. Like, Tyrese Halliburton has looked so good in Indiana. Since that trade, he's taken his game to another level, and since that trade, Sabonis has looked like a shell of himself. I have no idea.
Well, isn't he injured now too?
I think he's dealing with some sort of knee injury. Yeah, sure. And Sacramento, like they were fighting for the play-in spot or whatever, and now they're out of the play-in conversation. But man, how shit you must feel to be a Sacramento Kings fan. Oh my god.
I mean, it's hard to hard to find any light in there.
It's embarrassing, bro. It's embarrassing. And the thing is, it's like when they made that trade, their fan base was enraged. You can go to Twitter.
As they should be.
You can go to like these social media platforms, and everyone was like, "What are we doing, bro? Like, why did we make this trade? This does not make sense. You do not trade a player in his second year, shooting a 40% from the three, playing defensively, has one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the game for a guy like Sabonis, who's just not even going to be relevant in a few years. I hate to say it, he's a great player. He's an all-star, but I think like that was the prime of his career, bro. Tyrese Halliburton is only going to get better. Tyrese Halliburton is having a phenomenal year on all aspects. He looks amazing. Clearly, Indiana is trying to tank. Like, clearly they're trying to, seed poorly. They're not playing Brogdon, but like, damn, man, if you're an Indiana fan, you must be loving that move. And it blows my mind that Sacramento, it just continues to make move after move where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And like, to me, worst team in the league by far in terms of like how they're run, everything. The only thing I liked about Sacramento was Tyrese Halliburton. And now that they don't even have that. So it's like, dude, you're the biggest joke of a team. I stood by this thing. I don't think they'll ever win a fucking title. Until like they get new management or whatever. And anything can happen 20, 30 years from now. But like, bro, like how pissed you must be a Sacramento Kings fan. I actually feel bad for their fan base. Like I feel bad.
Yeah, I mean they like I said, it's tough to find any silver lining there. There really isn't. I do like Davion Mitchell a lot though. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked good. He just, like, I don't know. You had Tyrese Halliburton, and you put your chips into this guy, like, who's, like, how tall is Davion Mitchell? Maybe 5'11", 6 feet? Like, I'm not...
I think he's listed at 6 feet, yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to say that's a determining factor. You got guys like Van Vliet, but, like, dude, Tyrese Halliburton was, like, the guard you want to draft. Like, not only that, it's like, dude, the amount of poise, the ability to shoot. Like, JJ Redick went on ESPN and just ripped him to shreds for this. And, like, when I saw that, I was like, dude, like, JJ, that's exactly how I feel. And, yeah, man. Like, I don't know.
You're not the only one for sure.
Their whole fan base was pissed at that move. And, like, dude, now, like, seeing it, like, oh, man, it makes me sick to my stomach. Like, Sacramento, bro, like, you're a joke. Congrats. You played yourself. But, I mean, like, let's talk about just before we go. There's obviously Orlando is clearly trying to get. I thought they obviously they want Chet Holmgren, that Gonzaga kid who looked really good in the tournament.
You know what? I want Mo Bamba real bad.
Mo Bamba's had a great year. Franz
Real bad.
Wagner,
I hope they let him. I hope they just let him go because he's a free agent this year.
Oh really?
So
yeah.
I hope they don't match and we just get him on the cheap. Oh my god!
It's possible because if they draft Chet or something, right?
It's possible because they have a lot of centers on the roster.
Wendell Carter.
A lot of big guys.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And Isaac's not back yet, so.
Yeah, which is surprising. I don't know what's going on with that, but.
If we can steal Mo Bamba, man, that'd be so nice.
Then you know what? I do want to touch on one thing. Houston Rockets, Jaylen Green. He's looked really good last few weeks.
Oh, that's good. He's good. He's gonna be good. I mean, he's young as fuck too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think just even more reason to be excited about this. This rookie class was so good.
Oh man, Kuminga too. What a steal!
Yeah, Kuminga's looked really good. Franz obviously has been pretty solid all year. Giddey, yeah. It sucks. Giddey got hurt because he was playing so well.
Giddey got hurt.
Yeah. I mean that's most of the teams I wanted to touch on. A lot of these young teams that we just don't come up. But what do you think is going to happen? Lastly, with Washington.
Yeah, Washington's actually some of the teams I thought was kind of on a nice little upswing.
Yeah.
I thought that Porzingis, like you said, he's playing pretty well. Kuzma's looked so good for them.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, Kuzma's been unreal, eh?
Yeah, and who else am I forgetting about? Oh, Bradley Beal.
But he's been hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
KCP's been playing good as of late.
Washington has. Honestly, they look like they might just become a treadmill team. Yeah. But I thought if they made the play-in at least, they might be able to make some noise, but it's not looking like that's going to be the case.
And they started off really well too, which is kind of crazy. They started, you know what I mean? They started hot. They were the top of the East for a bit. But we kind of all knew that wasn't going to last. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Beal and if they'll eventually move.
Definitely, yeah. This summer he's a big question mark, eh?
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see kind of how that unfolds. Because he didn't have the best year this year, but I think he's been dealing with that hand thing for a while, and I think that's why they decided to eventually just pull him and do the surgery or whatever. But yeah, that's going to be something to worth touching on the off season because that's a guy that a lot of teams would probably like to have, right?
Bradley Beal, yeah, you're not wrong about that.
So yeah, we'll have to see how that unfolds. But I mean, that's most of what I wanted to cover. Playoff picture, play-in. Obviously, we still have a few more games left that's going to determine seeding and matchups and all that. But yeah, I think we covered most of the stuff that I had planned for today. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap? Anything we missed?
Just one quick thing. Just an idea that I read the other day and that I thought was, and I can't remember who it was, so my bad. But somebody was mentioning with the play-in tournament how there should be a rule, an add-on rule, that, let's say the 8th spot and the difference between the 8th spot and the 9th spot, let's say it's 5 games.
Okay.
That they don't have a chance to play in.
So there's a threshold that you know what?
Yeah.
I kind of agree
and I think I like
that. Yeah, because it's if the imagine it's a 12-game spread.
That's what I'm saying.
And then you're in the
it's you played well for so long, the other team just gets hot.
Yeah.
Or gets somebody back, and it's just
and then you're in the same position playing a sudden death game, and you finish 12 games ahead. Yeah, I don't fuck with that. I don't fuck with that at all. I agree.
So I think that might be something that they amend.
They look at
down the line, and that probably makes sense. And the other thing that they should amend, that I can't believe they're not fucking doing this, is when a coach does a challenge and you win the challenge, you keep your damn challenge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
maybe
how are
we still talking about this?
I know, and maybe I was thinking what you could do to prevent it from being abused is after that you only get one more challenge. Maybe you have a cap.
Sure, fine.
Because you obviously don't want just challenging. Imagine you have 4 successful challenges.
But if you keep winning.
Yeah, but I think they'd be worried about
show that the refs need to do a better job.
Sure, too. Which they won't want to probably admit or have that come to the surface, but. I'm thinking I'm thinking you cap it at maybe 2 or 3, right? So it's not you get a chance to get it back so you can use it early and then save it for late game. But I just think the problem would be you just want coaches being able to do it 5 times a game, slowing the game down tremendously. Maybe cap it at 2 or 3 or something. Maybe 2. Maybe you get one more back that you can save for late game. But I agree. getting your timeout back, but then not being able to use a challenge late game because the ref made the fuck up in the second quarter. That's a crucial play, and it's like a foul on Giannis or something. Like that isn't right. That isn't.
And
right.
it's like you'll get those every time we're playing a team, and they'll call a challenge in the first quarter. You know what I mean? Whether it's Nick Nurse doing it or another coach, it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like I don't care what the play is. The only time where it might make sense is if there's like 2 fouls on your star player, and this would be the third foul. Like, okay, fine. Right. But even then, it's like you got 3 quarters left.
I know. You got to save it. You never know.
That big one at the end. Yeah, you never fucking know.
Yeah. I remember when Frank Vogel, I think it was last season, he used it within like 35 seconds of the first quarter. And they lost, and I was like, God damn it! And then they needed it at the end of the game, and I was like, God damn it! But yeah, no, I know.
That's it, because it always comes down to like, oh, well, they already used their challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but that's why I think like if you had it like where it's like you get it back, but then after that second one, it's over. Would be interesting. I think. Like,
I mean, you're right. That would probably be a good
balance
compromise there. Yeah. But
so you can't abuse it, but then you're not punished for using it if there's.
But I almost want them to be able to abuse it, because sometimes. Like some games,
you could see how that would be a problem though, right? Like potentially, like if a team, like
but it's only a problem if the refs keep making bad calls.
Sure, but at the same time,
you know what I mean?
Sure, but at the same time, it's like there's got to be some sort of balance there, like for it to not be like you just don't want people abusing things. But I mean, I know what you're saying. Like as where it sits right now. It's not fair. Like it doesn't make sense. It's still relying on the ref to make the right call in a sense that you're getting punished if you use it early because you like and getting the timeout back. It's like cool, dude. Like
and like how annoying is it? Like even if you challenge at the right time, it's at the end of the game, whatever.
Yeah.
And you win your challenge, and it's like okay, cool, great, awesome. But then the next play,
it's. Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And the other thing that pisses me off, like you win the challenge, and then it's like a jump ball or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
depending what you challenge, but that's got to be on the coach though to know that.
Yeah, but like it just seems like kind of stupid. It's like, oh, they were wrong, you were right, but now it jump ball, and then you lose the jump ball, and it's like, oh fuck. You know what I mean? Like that also feels a little foolish to me. So I think they got to tweak the whole thing. I like the idea of the challenge, but yeah, I agree. Like. It can't come down to like you're punished for using it early if you're using it at the right time, like in a sense. But food for thought. Yeah, good point, man. I think we'll wrap there. Obviously got a lot to talk about. Let's try to do something maybe next week or in a couple of weeks when we have like definitive playoff seeding, and then we can even run it through the playoffs and just as it goes by, we'll have a lot to talk about. I'm sure with awards and playoffs going on, it's going to be really exciting. So.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah, man. Good episode. Nice talking to you, and I'll see you again soon.
All right. Peace.
Peace, bro.